move back to the future.
I don't got time to hear about the criticism. Rap serial killer looking for another victim. Come and get your issue. Young women with an obvious slashing at your muffins just like a carry.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy K with the AKA Mr. Getting It Done, and this is Getting It Done. This is our podcast, our one and only opportunity for the week where we get a chance to mix it up and listen and learn something interesting to help us expand, to help us grow, and to help us learn a little bit more so we can know how it can be to reach higher and do a little more with who we want to become. We have an opportunity to get a chance to be spoken to by a personality that has achieved so much and is on the way to achieving so much more. We've got the world champion up in here, and we're talking about the star of stage, screen, and the ring world champion, Mr. Brian Cage. Actor, artist, personality extraordinaire, and guess what? He's about to be starring in a film very soon, but we can't talk about that just
No. But I mean, I didn't even know if we were gonna do a podcast here, or if I was gonna listen to you introduce me for 30 minutes. Like, you can just keep going. I was like, I was like, look at, it's like, I was talking about you could do some stuff in the ring. I'm like, maybe you just be the ring announcer. Look at this. He's just putting people over forever.
Oh, you're a gentleman. And, you know, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to hear you today, because somebody is looking for a word of encouragement, and I am sure that once we get a chance to walk through your story a little bit and hear some of your humble beginnings, we will be able to be more than inspired and encouraged to see things a lot more from an advantage position. Now, we know you are successful. You're actually even the star athlete here at Retcon 1, but I know right now you're actually in the process of getting ready to do a major wrestling event, and I wanted to know if you would shed some light on that for us a little bit.
Yeah, I just had a huge victory on Dynamite. That's our TV show on TNT every Wednesday at 8 with All Elite Wrestling, and we got a big pay-per-view at the end of the month called Double or Nothing. That's pretty much that's almost like our WrestleMania, if you will. Yeah, I just got the huge victory over the number one contender and number one ranked wrestler Adam Page, and things are looking good. Things are finally turning around for the Swolverine over here, and we'll see what happens. I've been definitely preparing for this opportunity for quite a while, and I feel like I haven't gotten to really showcase what I'm all about, what I can do in the promotion that I'm right now, which has the biggest reach and the biggest promotion I've ever been in. So finally, to get that opportunity, you're always talking about opportunities. You know, I'm gonna grab the bull by the horns and make it happen.
At this time, you're currently competing at a weight of like 275.
Yeah, I'm usually, everybody says the ranges, right, from this to this, which is obviously completely normal. But I'm usually like 265 to 270s change.
And with that, you didn't start out this way, and you've got to. Though I understand you always wanted to be a professional wrestler, you have been able to celebrate some beginnings somewhere else. Within the realm of fitness and bodybuilding. With saying that, were you always a very sizable young man?
No, not at all. I had some decent peaks, I guess, naturally, but no, I was not I was always a big fitness enthusiast, but I just didn't practice it. I remember even being third grade and being very enlightened by plenty of fitness stuff, and I would see the nutrition facts, even just on a box of cereal or something. I'd be really intrigued by it. And I'd see the Total Gym commercials or the Bowflex commercials, and I'd be like, Mom, we got to get that. So I was always fascinated by it, but it wasn't until after I actually graduated high school that I really dove into it. I graduated at 155 pounds. So
155 pounds.
Yeah, so not sizable at all then.
And how tall were you then?
Huh? Probably 5'10", 5'11". So I wasn't... I wasn't no super heavyweight then, and though it's shunned upon in our industry, I did a lot of backyard wrestling then too, just because I was such a fan of the sport.
Now you did that as a teenager,
kid. Yeah, as a kid, right? Mess around, just like you'd go and play football in the backyard, same thing. And a lot of the kids I would do that with, they were like, $125. So in comparison, I was the big guy when I wasn't big at all. So I was like, you know what, this isn't going to cut the mustard. I wanted to be a wrestler since I was 10 years old. So I was like, all right, I got to, get into business here. I got to change this. my PE teacher for my sophomore year, who was also a big wrestling fan and one of my favorite teachers, told me he was running summer school that year I graduated, and that if I wanted, he would open up the gym. So I said, F it, let's do it. And every morning throughout the summer, I'd get up no matter how late we stayed out or did whatever, and I would jog to my high school, and then I would just start training, just kind of figuring things out on my own.
Wait a minute. You mean so the PE teacher used to come and pick you up in the morning?
No, no, no,
bring
no.
you to the.
No. I would jog. I'd wake up and jog. It was probably about a mile.
How old
to
were
school.
you?
Well, I just graduated, so I was 18.
So you're 18 years old. So you're a teenager.
Yeah.
With the ambition to become a professional bodybuilder one day. Were you doubtful in any way?
I wanted to be a professional wrestler, but I just knew that I was going to cut the mustard 155 pounds. I'm like, all right, I don't want to show up to like a, wrestling school and start training for it and then not look the part and be kind of laughed at or taken advantage of, which I've heard so many horror stories. So I'm like, I got to take it serious before I even get there. So my PE teacher from 10th grade was just teaching summer school that year. And then since he was there, he's like, if you want to come to the school, I'll open the weight room for you so you can come train.
So if you show the interest.
Yeah.
But he knew you were interested.
Yes.
How did he know?
He was just one of my favorite teachers. We really had a good connection. We'd always kind of BS and joke around, and and I knew he was a fan of wrestling as well. And it's just one of those teachers, that you just kind of buddy up to. Yeah. And he knew, that we'd wrestle around, me and my friends in the backyard, and he knew like that was a serious ambition of mine. So it was kind of, I guess, his way to encourage making it happen. So he opened up the weight room. I would jog down there. I'd work out, Monday through Friday down there and kind of figure things out on my own. And, eventually after that summer, I was like, okay, now let's get really, really serious, and got my first gym membership and, hit the ground running. And then I probably was like 205 by the time I actually went and started officially training and whatnot for wrestling. So,
was that at the completion of the summer, or had that?
No, that was probably like a year afterwards.
Year.
Yeah, something like that. And even then, as much as like I kept thinking like, oh, I'm eating a lot, or I'm training right, or I'm eating correctly, or doing this or that. Knowledge is power. And I look back, I'm like, oh man, if I only knew what I know now, then I feel like I could have probably developed and produced everything that much faster. But it was still a learning experience that was valuable that you can move going forward. But so then, I was training, I was going to college, I was working 2 jobs, I was going to wrestling school, I was doing all this. I actually even opened up my own independent wrestling promotion too while I was training, and I started running my own shows before I started doing a bunch of indie shows throughout the California circuit. So
that was a businessman's move.
Yes.
While still developing as an amateur.
I was hustling. Yeah. So I pretty much opened up my own company to get that much more experience for myself. It was still probably one of the most fun times that I've had with wrestling, but selfishly, it was really just more, to get more for myself, to be able to get myself out there, because ultimately that was the end goal. And it definitely paid off. And once I started doing the full California circuit, so just so people know, indie wrestling is very much like being an indie rock band. So you go
being an independent.
Well, I mean, you're still technically considered independent contractor even when you're like signed. But independent means you're not, you're only freelance, but you're not signed anywhere, and you're basically trying to make it.
Right.
So like a lot of indie rock bands, they go around and they play at a bunch of hole in the wall, dirt holes, and get paid nothing, and they just want the experience and the exposure, and then hopefully they get to open for somebody who's bigger, and they get seen by somebody, and they start getting booked in bigger shows, and then maybe they get a record deal, and so on and so forth.
And what does it mean to make it as an indie wrestling?
So with that, so you start doing all these shows to get the experience, to get out there, and you get paid next to nothing. You're wrestling in all these, little crappy, little bars or little armories or whatever. Even though we loved it at the time, and then hopefully that you get good enough or experienced enough to kind of get a namesake for yourself on the independent market, so it kind of increases your value. And then once you kind of start to get that a little bit of attention, you hopefully draw the attention of a major company that can offer you a deal. I mean, that's essentially everyone's end goal. Most everybody wants to work for WWE, since that's like synonymous with pro wrestling. But there's actually several companies, throughout the world that you can work for and get signed. And then even at my time, indies weren't hot. But before the pandemic, for several years now, like there were several people making a really good living just doing independent wrestling. Yeah, like it was super booming.
question. So if you are an independent wrestler, recognizing that there's something you have to do with the business end of development in order to help you advance in becoming the star athlete that you aspired to be, where did you get that information? Who was your influences that were helping to guide you at that time? And is that necessary at all to have?
Oh, it definitely helps a big time. So usually whatever school you go and train at, and so that's the same thing too. There's like several schools, just like it would be, a martial arts school or an MMA school or whatever, that you would train at to learn, the art and the sport and everything of pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. And then generally that school usually has a promotion that they actually run to, not always, but usually they have a show. So that kind of gets your foot in the door that way. And then whoever your main trainer is or owns that place usually is connected with somebody. Maybe it's somebody special, maybe it's something, but there's usually connections that kind of get you out there to a few different places. And then once you kind of branch yourself out to those places, those people have connected to these other places. So it's just like this big, olive branch where kind of starts to spread you out and get known. But then you throw into like why indies got so overs with social media and YouTube and everything being streamed. Like everyone could just start to. We were talking about this earlier too about people having that access. So then people started becoming stars and getting what we say is called over with wrestling, just because people could see their matches through a YouTube stream or from whatever download on demand high spot thing that you could order and pay $10.99 a month or whatever.
So if I'm driving in my car and I'm hearing this podcast and I heard you use the term getting over, what does that mean to me? What should I conjure as thought in my mind?
So when you
for clarity,
there's so many different inside wrestling terms too, and then you just start to use them day to day, and people always look at you like, "What are we talking about?" So being over, getting over, that's a term we use for like you're getting over with the crowd. So if you're whether you're heel, which is a bad guy, or babyface is a good guy, but if you're getting the reaction you're going for, that means you're getting over. And then in the TV realm, when you're on TV and the ratings go up. You're getting over. So as you go over or get over, now your merchandise sells. Now they're over. So that's a layman's term that we have to use when like anything's popular or happening or just drawing attention. It's over. I'm getting over. It's over. So
getting over. So that moment of arrival when you start to see from these wonderful ambition gestures that still hadn't really turned into nothing, but then suddenly now it has blossomed into more than just the bookings in the lower spots, and now you're actually starting to get over, or I guess operating term I'm using in my head when I hear this, received. You start to recognize yourself to be received very well from an audience that is excited about your product and wants to have more access to it. At that time, what then happens? What's happening for you then in your development process?
So, there's different ways and different variables could go, but let's just use this one as an example. So now more and more people are reaching out to you like, hey, we got to have this guy on the show, because if this guy is on our show, it's going to get more eyes on the show. It's going to draw more ticket sales. It's going to, we're going to have a great match. So now you're in a little bit more of a demand. So now your booking fee gets to go up. Now your, demands for what kind of flight you want or hotel you want gets to go up. And so forth and so forth. And then you get there, and then you start to sell more and more merchandise, so you're making more and more money. And then as you're doing that, usually companies are catching wind of it, whether it be WWE, Impact, ROH, New Japan, whatever. And now they want to bring you on. And then now if they want to sign you to an exclusive deal, now you have a little bit more negotiating power to be like, hey, well, this is what I'm doing right now on my own. Mm-hmm. So, you guys, if you want me to relinquish that ability and go with you guys full time only exclusively, well, then you got to, help me out here.
So as an independent,
if
you've already built yourself up by the entrepreneurial spirit that you had, as you said, you started doing your own shows, which meant you were promoting yourself, which meant you had also developed yourself as an athlete, which would also mean that with that, not only the personality that you need to have in order to, inspire the audience to want to take notice and pay attention to you, your character, but also the skills in the actual ring, in the ability to fight. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What did it take? What were your inspirations when we started talking about the technical stuff with your work in the ring?
Well, okay, so there was, as growing up as a kid, I was a big fan of like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, like many people were. And then as I got older in teenager years. Everybody loved Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. But like my three main influences as far as like the people I wanted to emulate in the ring, were I call them the three Chris's because coincidentally they were all Chris. But it was Chris Kanyon, Chris Benoit, and Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho's actually out of the three, Chris Jericho's actually the only one still alive, and he's actually signed in our company. And I befriended actually Chris Kanyon. He actually became one of my really good friends.
Really?
And he helped me out tremendously in my career. And I owe a lot and pay a lot of respect to him. Actually, when I did the Who Better thing too earlier today when we trained, that's actually one of his catchphrases that I didn't steal from him, but I used it to pay respect for it. Yeah.
Wow.
And I usually have gauntlets that have his logo on it and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
But he was a vastly underrated superstar, super creative, super talented. But I wanted to take like multiple, facets of talent from each of them, as far as like Jericho's, agility and charisma and mic work, and then Benoit's physique and intensity and technical prowess, and then Canyon's bumping and selling and punches and innovative offense. And I figured like, if I had this hybrid of these three Chris's, it'd be like the perfect, person in the ring.
You sound like an artist, a scientist, a masterful creator that is ultimately like putting together this stew of what you believe is a vision of the success of Brian Cage.
And even then, what I liked about it too was at the time too that I really was into all three of these guys and wanted to be like them. None of them were like top level main stars either, but I just saw the talent and the ability that they had. And Jericho's one of the biggest wrestling stars there is, but at the time they were all what we called mid carders. So there's nothing like they definitely weren't main eventing or the top of the card. But I could see their talent. I just figured like, oh man, I feel like all these guys offer so much and have so much they could provide if a company would invest in them. And then if I threw all their powers combined, like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or something, I'm like, then it would be perfect.
You used the word innovative defense?
Offense. Actually, it was one of his monikers. Innovator of offense was one of his monikers.
Of offense. Can you explain to me what that means?
So when you go out there, and some people aren't always into that style, but like for me, I always gravitated just towards somebody doing basically something cool. Like when something cool happens in the ring, you're like, oh, well, that was cool, obviously. And then the more unique or different or just something new you would see, you'd be like, oh my God, which I think goes for everything. I was a big actually skateboarder too in high school.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I actually, that's why I had skateboarding shoes on too. I actually just started doing it again recently because
you skateboard now?
Yeah, I don't go like skate, but just the other day I got a whole new deck and I was skating around and flipping around.
275 pounds.
Yeah, people are like, what? Like, it's not like I'm doing handrails or anything anymore. It's just doing some flip tricks and whatnot. But yeah, I was pretty heavy into skateboarding throughout high school. Even though I always wanted to be wrestling since I was 10. That was like one of the big hobbies that I did. I love skateboarding. But yeah, even then, when somebody does something innovative or new that stands out in skateboarding or any sort of extreme sport or whatever the case, you're like, oh my god. Same thing. If somebody hits this amazing, ridiculous, once in a lifetime shot or a basket in NBA, then that's going to stand out. So that's what always really stuck out to me. And Canyon would literally have something new every single match. Like it would just blow my mind. Like what? And we all, as performers in the wrestling world, want to have what we call match of the night. The best match. And not only that, but to me, if I couldn't have match of the night, I wanted to have that moment where like somebody had never seen that or couldn't believe I could do that, or just that whatever sequence or high spot that we did just stuck out like, wow, that was amazing. And almost every single match I've had from the smallest, beginnings to now, I almost always get that. So to me, that was a very, very, very high compliment because that was something I aspired to do in following Chris Kane's footsteps. So to be able to get that. And I've also gotten, not to put myself over, but I've gotten comparisons to the three Chris's from three separate individuals
that didn't know that was your aspiration.
Yes. And they were credible individuals too. So that was also nice. Like, oh, that's pretty sweet to hear.
That moment of getting that match of the night recognition from the audience or from the people in the know that know better. Yeah. What does that mean? So I'm imagining that if I were getting ready for a match and I'm expecting that this match is the newest thing that's going to represent my body of work, and I invested as much time and as much effort as you are and have in the continuing development of your career. I'm imagining that as I prepare to do the unleashment or display of this match of the night moment, that I'd probably have to be thinking about choreography, coordination, flexibility. What is it, any one thing in particular that you can focus on right now and make our audience hear how you allowed all of this to work to present this one moment in your personal experience?
Well, for me, what stands out is there, back in the 80s, even early 90s, there was a lot of guys, my size, your size, or bigger. Maybe not bigger than you.
Much bigger.
Yeah, I was like, we're not bigger than you. Bigger than me.
No, absolutely.
But that was more common, okay, yeah, you think of pro wrestlers, you think of bodybuilders, these big, massive guys. Problem was, a lot of them weren't very athletic. So maybe they're bigger than you, but they weren't more athletic than you. Then
Maybe.
And they couldn't really move, and they were kind of like whatever. Then as every sport, everything evolves, right? So as wrestling's evolved, everyone's becoming more and more athletic, and they do more and more, thrill stuff, and more, like I said, to all the innovative offense, and it's definitely developed and evolved. But while that's been happening, I feel like the size, and not even the size, but the general physique has like dwindled down. So I definitely feel like I'm more of a rarity in that case. And not even like I'm like the most, biggest, most jack guy around, but I definitely stand out. But then when people see me and they come out like, oh, cool, it's a throwback wrestler, but he probably, basically, he probably sucks. He can't do anything. He can't move. He can't move.
He's muscle bound.
Yes, exactly. And then
low skill sets.
Exactly. But then when they see me go, and then my footwork and my timing and my agility and everything else, they're like, holy crap. And even if somebody's obviously quicker, faster, more agile than me, they're also 150 pounds. So me keeping up with them and doing similar stuff, 110 pounds or so bigger, and they're like, the heads explode. So I feel like that's one of definitely a huge attribute that just stands out, where it separates me from the crowd. But then on top of that, you still have, so when you go out there in a wrestling ring, you're basically telling a story, and wherever that story is, like to use a simple one, if I go out there and I fight somebody small, that's always the story's told, like David Goliath kind of a situation. But you're trying to tell a story. Everybody knows that this is all predetermined. With that being said, I say predetermined. I don't like to use the word fake, because it's anything but fake. If you're in there, the physicality is real. Absolutely. The injuries are real. Absolutely. The athleticism is real.
And the risks are real. Yeah, absolutely.
The emotion from the crowd is everything. I did this persuasive speech actually in college, how wrestling was more real than fake, and it was phenomenal, and the teacher loved it. But yes, it is obviously predetermined. We're out there to try to work together to convince the crowd, who already knows that this is set up, to have them be able to tell such a good story that they suspend belief and are able to invest into this and go, oh, hey, and they get behind it. Just like
your master performer.
Exactly. Just like, you go to a movie, you obviously, the movie's not real, but you don't go in there going, oh, that's fake. They didn't do it. You allow yourself to sit back and be entertained and invest in the story wherever the film's being sold. So,
and in that, it is real.
Exactly.
This is a real experience.
So this is a sporting event, you know what I mean? But then we're trying to tell stories basically for the matches. So the psychology of the story and how you set the match up, mixed in with whatever thrills or unique offense and, whatnot, that's what kind of helps you develop that match of the night performance. And then having that match of the night, like it gives you that MVP, like of an all-star game or fight of the night, on a UFC event or something. And the more you're able to do that, going back to me talking earlier, how do you advance your career? Now you've gotten more and more over, because now you're like, now that people know when you're going out there, you're not going to phone it in. You're going to go out there and you're going to try to steal the show every time, no matter who's out there, how big the crowd is or isn't. And that's obviously a huge win for any fan, because they know, like, oh, I want to go see this guy because he's going to kill it. No matter who he's going to wrestle, it's going to be an awesome match. And that's definitely my mentality. as I've gotten older and I've wrestled, I've been doing this for 15 years now. So there's definitely wears and tears. My body does not enjoy myself all the time.
Right. I would imagine.
But so you want to take it easy sometimes when it's not risk to reward isn't, worth it. But at the same time, it's kind of hard for me just because I love it so much that I want to go out there and I want to perform to my best of the ability just because not only am I still a fan of it just all the same, even competing in it now, like it's almost easier for me to go out there and give it my all, not only for the fans, but just for myself, just because I feel like whenever I ever kind of, shortchanged it, if I will, I just, afterwards, I don't have that endorphin rush of like, wow, I did something I love. I felt like it's like, it was just whatever. It's like the same thing if you go and you have like a really crappy workout, you don't have that endorphin like where you feel accomplished after you leave the gym. You kind of just feel like, that wasn't that great of a day.
Is that also where you're able to identify the love that you have for the craft?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate it completely. And I get pretty protective of it too. Like whenever we call them like outsiders come in, and some of them done fantastic. And when I say by outsiders, I mean like, like a former NFL guy or a former, this or that or whatever.
Someone that's experienced some success and popularity somewhere else.
Yes, and they come in. And they come in for like
come in with the spotlight on them.
Yeah. Except for if they come in with like a special guest appearance or something, I don't care about that. But then when they kind of come in and they get everything kind of handed to them and they kind of get like
without paying dues,
shoehorned in front of everyone else when they're not that great and they don't have any passion. They haven't paid any dues, and that's the bigger thing. They don't have any passion or appreciation for it. Then you know what I mean. Like here we are. Everybody else generally has wanted it their whole life, have worked their ass off, and then so just come in and just gets
handed to them.
Yeah, pushed to the top. And because it's like there may be something so about them where they're so charismatic or they have this it factor where like they're worth pushing, but like
they add something.
It just
business of the.
I hate the fact that like it's just they don't have that appreciation. I want that because I love this so much. Going back to it, that's why. Even on I'm not exclusive with AEW. I have a phenomenal contract and I don't need to work anywhere else. But because I love it so much, I will still do certain independent matches just because I want to wrestle. And I don't think there's literally nobody else doing that. Like,
is there a liability with that though?
There is because if I go out there and I get hurt, I mean, then I can't perform when I need to perform for AEW. And I did work that out in my contract though, to be able to do that. And I don't work nearly as much as I used to, and I'm pretty particular on like where I work or like it's more of who I want to work because I want to go out there and just have that match of the night. I still want that. It's like a fix. I want that. I want that shot of match of the night to have that to fulfill my wrestling desire, my need, and I'm not trying to put myself over anybody else in that regard, but I don't think there's anybody else that's as financially secure as myself that's still willing to go out there and do these shows, and it's purely for the love of the game, and then also just for the appreciation of the fans as well. Because even for them to be able to see, somebody who's on TV every week where normally nobody else is able to do that stuff, and then they're here, even if it's a small little hokey doke show, it's like they're still just like, oh, what, Brian Cage is here? So I like to give that back, and I'm sure that's going to stop probably sooner than later, but the fact that I'm still able to do it right now in my contract, and I literally was just thinking about that. Like, I was like, I think I'm the only guy that's like doing this right now at the level that I am, that I'm still doing this, and it's purely just because I want to go out there and just do as much as I can until I can't anymore. At
275 pounds, though, understanding that we do have mileage and wear and tear on our joints, and a cost factor that comes along with everything that we do. Do you think that as you continue to progress and become more successful, certainly in larger demand because of your success and celebrity and the fact that people have you really taken notice of your hard work over the years, do you think that it should naturally come to you, the opportunity to not have to wrestle as often for the big payday?
Oh, for sure. And like I said, it's slowed down for sure. Like I don't wrestle as much as I do, but and I kind of almost have this preconceived notion that we'll say like a year from now it'll probably be about done outside of the freelance stuff. Like I'll still be in AEW. I won't be retired from wrestling yet. But,
no announcements like that.
But like, I know it'll probably dry up where I'm like, okay, maybe I don't need to do this anymore. Not only for my body, like, and I talk about my athleticism where I'll do a bunch of dives, over the top rope to the floor, certain flips and acrobatics. And I started to trim back on those because those are, again, if a guy 150 pounds doing it, laying on his feet, it's not as bad. Me, it's a little worse. So people usually, I can do it. So I feel like there's almost an added enlightenment that they know I can do it. So I think they want to see me do it. And now I don't give it to them. So now they keep wanting it. Whereas if I give it to them like candy, it just starts to lose its value. You know what I mean? Now it's like, oh, it's crazy he can do this, but it's like, but he does it every time, so it's not that big of a deal.
How do you maintain that balance though? How do you do that?
Yeah, it's tough too because if you don't do it enough, you start to lose the confidence that you can do it. Wow. So you gotta have that kind of happy medium. So it's really just if it's a big enough match or if it's a crowd that I feel like because there's that too. You also have to know what crowd you're working in front of. So if I drop kick a guy or if I flip backwards off top rope onto the guy and it gets the same reaction, well, then I'm just going to drop kick the guy then. It's like, but I know it's a great crowd and I know the drop kick will get a pop, but pop too is the crowd reacting, to go back to that terminology.
The pop.
That's the cheer. That's the
applause, the
ovation.
The ovation. Yeah, the audience approves.
Yes.
Gladiator, we salute you.
Exactly. They're entertained. Are you not entertained?
Yeah, okay.
But then I know if I do the backflip or dive off top or something and they're going to come unglued, well, now that has more value, more meaning in that situation. So now I'll do it. That's what the risk with the reward.
Are there any times in the ring where you have made the choice and you thought later on that the choice you made wasn't the right one?
Absolutely. I've done it where I was like, no, we shouldn't do that much. I don't think this crowd will react that well tonight. And the crowd was on fire. We should have done that. Or I've done it. Yeah, let's do it. And, the crowd didn't care. I've done it, and it's called high risk offense too. We do that kind of stuff. And
high risk offense.
And I've done it where I regret it because, I didn't go as well as planned and I cracked my tailbone or this happens or whatever. There's been some bad ones where I'm not doing that anymore.
Question. Are you required to report things like that? Should you, in order to maintain your career and in order to maintain your ability to continue to work, and do it without certain kinds of scrutiny, are you ever in that situation where you feel like you wouldn't want to report something like that and just kind of tend it on your own?
Almost all of us never report it. And we should, especially when you're under contract with the company, they'll take care of you. But nobody ever wants to report it because nobody wants to lose that spot.
Yeah.
That's what they talk about. It's not, again, going back to it's not real. And so the competitive nature of it, it's absolutely real. Because if you're getting pushed to the top, right, you're getting pushed to this big moment. I have this big match coming up at the pay-per-view. And now if I get hurt, but I can work through it, I'm going to fave it. I'm not going to tell anybody about it because if I say something, they pull me out, somebody else is going to go that spot. Right. And now I'm going to start all over again. So that's why a lot of people in wrestling work through a lot of injury. And that's why there's a lot of substance abuse too when it comes to opiates and painkillers and this and that, because it's kind of almost like people turn to that and that's their only way to get through it. You know what I mean? Because nobody wants to take that time off. So unless you have to have, some absolute surgery or something in that regard, like usually everyone pushes it to they can't no more.
So the consequences are real.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Negative possibilities are certainly very, very high.
I mean, people too have gotten hurt, and usually you don't get hurt released or fired when you're hurt. But if you kind of flounder around from coming back from injury and they kind of don't find a spot for you, or you're not, fitting in where they thought you were, you can also get released from that situation too. So there's this constant, I don't want to say there's constant fear, like everybody's on eggshells and terrified, but nobody ever wants to ever just, risk that. They're like, I'd rather just be, go, keep my head down, grind. And, getting hurt is part of the business, and you're going to get hurt. The big differential that I try to make is there's a difference between being hurt and injured. I work hurt almost all the time, and I try to get through it. Injuries where, your bone's sticking out of your arm, you can't really hide that. Or if you, God forbid, you hurt your back or your neck or something. I've had one serious back injury. I've had a few terrible concussions where I was out cold and the day's gone for me. I've broken my nose a few times. I've torn my MCL. I've torn my hamstring. I tore my bicep. So it's the only surgery I've had, thank God. So yeah, there's been a few things.
What happened with your bicep? I see the scar.
Yeah.
That's from your bicep?
Yeah.
From the surgical.
Yeah. So they cut it up because the tendon tears from your forearm, so it rips off the bone from your forearm, and it rolls up. So they have to cut it, find it, fish it out, and then they drill a hole back through your forearm.
I remember reading about that injury with you, And I understand that there's something that happened that kind of was a blessing in disguise. This was like before COVID, right? Is that right?
So this was the right before COVID. It actually terrified me a little bit at first. So it was talking about there a risk involved. So I was signed with a company called Impact Wrestling, and I had signed an extension, like a 2-week extension, to get to this pay-per-view match, and then I was in the contract negotiations with every company to figure out where I was going to go. And I pretty much knew I was going to go to AW, but I didn't have any actual official offer or a contract signed, because it technically would be against my contract, because you can negotiate it like 30 days out, but you can't sign or officially agree until your contract's completely expired and lapsed. So since I signed a 2-week extension, I had to get to this match. So it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday loop, and we did this match Friday for Impact Wrestling. The pay-per-view was Sunday, and I did this little like meet and greet signing and this little hole-in-the-wall show, because they had it attached to it that Saturday. And
God.
And it was, I'll tell you what, too, a lot of injuries happen, and people or fans don't really probably know or appreciate this, when the rings are complete garbage. And this ring was awful. And people don't know that, because it's all uneven, it's short, the ropes are all like, it's just terrible. And so
you can't complain about that and say, I will not work under these conditions.
And most of the time, like usually one check, most of the time too, if you're traveling, you're coming and going, you usually get there, you don't have time to go check out the ring. And that's something too, also, there's another misconception, not to jump all over the place. It's not a dance rehearsal. It's not like we get there and we choreograph it, move for move. Sometimes you might go over a certain sequence or spot, but generally speaking,
it's happening live. You just do it.
If you're putting together a match backstage, just before having a match, I go, all right, Kai, we're match 4. We got 10 minutes. 10 minutes. You're over. If there's some sort of storyline stuff, maybe they put that in. But if it's just general matchup, okay, you're over in 10 minutes. What do you want to go over with? And you go, okay, this move. I go, okay, cool. How do you want to start it? Maybe you have an idea. I was like, yeah, we could do that. Maybe I'll cut you off. I'll get on you for a little bit. You can make your comeback. We'll do a few falsies each. That's like the near falls. And then we'll go to your finish. And that's pretty much, that's how we put together a match, just like that.
This is it.
And then when you're out there, then you're communicating, and it's going back to acting too. Then it's action and reaction between yourselves and also the crowd.
Communicating.
Because there's plenty of times where you go out there and the crowd will respond differently, or, so you kind of adapt to that. There's times where I'm going out and I'm supposed to be the good guy, and all of a sudden the crowd just hates me, and I'm the bad guy. So now obviously this, going back to the story and the psychology match, has to completely change, because they're not going to buy into it now. Now we got to switch it on the fly. So that's where you have to be able to adapt and improv too.
And that is a display of experience. Being able to read the crowd, being able to know where you are, and that's when you're able to use some of what you've talked about, that 15 years of experience in the game, to make decisions or to inform the decision that you're making on the fly.
Yeah, and then not everybody can do that. Like the one of the times where I was, supposed to be the good guy, then I'm the bad guy. As the referee's checking me before the match starts, I go, hey, tell them the match has changed. I'm going to cut them off. I'm going to be the heel. Like, tell them just listen to me. I'll call it all. And then I just did that. So, and then same thing with time too, especially when it's live TV. They'll be like, okay, we're match 4, we have 10 minutes, and then maybe the program's running long and it's live, so you can't change it. You're on from TV from 8 to 10, that's it. So maybe by the time we go up there, they're like, hey, shit, sorry guys, you guys got 6 minutes. And I'll be like, what? So now you got to, and sometimes that happens in the middle of the match where you have 5 minutes to go home, and also the referee gets a call in the ear and goes, hey, go home now, you guys got 2 minutes. You're like, what? So now you have to, again, adapt on the fly and go, oh, what do we do? How do we get there? So... And it's like you can stop and sit there and have a conversation about it. You gotta just keep going.
Have your people call my
Yeah. So
we'll get an itinerary
and that happens more often than people probably think or can see, which is also a detriment to again how well we try to adapt and keep it going. And that's one of the sayings too. The show must go on. That's why even people get hurt. They usually work through the injuries,
like your bicep.
Yeah. That one we only wrestled for a little bit longer, and then I called the match. So going back to that, I'm all over the place now. So it was a simple move. I
was excited though. I'm with you over there. I'm coming back over here with you. I'm ready.
So simple move. There's been a lot of wrestlers who've torn their biceps, and not one has a cool story of how it happened. They're all really like dumb, stupid things. So it was literally, I just went through the second rope to go to the floor, and how you go through the ropes like that is you base your hand. These would be my left hand. Then on the second rope, and then as you go through the middle, you base your hand on the apron, and then that way you can land on your feet, or you can take a bump to the floor, however you want to fall. So this rope was I mean, basically non-existent. So when I grabbed the rope to go through it, there was just nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at the grab, like, oh, so then as I'm like falling now, I try to grab the apron and I missed it. So I'm just free falling. So instinctively you just react. So I grabbed that rope. And so as I grabbed the rope, it was my body weight falling against my bicep and it just snapped right off. And I felt it, and I rolled, and I looked at it, and it was like seizing up, and it just went dead. And I was like trying to curl it, and I can't.
Wow.
And the guy comes and gets on me, and I go, dude, I just tore my bicep. We got to go. And he's like, what? And I was booked to win the match.
Oh.
And he goes, all right, give me your finisher. And I just move our
Wait, so you now have a torn bicep,
yeah.
right? And you're still committed.
Yes, to get to the finish of the match, yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, I don't know how bad it is, but like, let's just get to the finish. Normally, too, if it was like a big deal match, I would have done as much as we could. But I was like, let's just get to the finish. And he goes, all right, we'll just go over. And I go, no. Again, because I have this move, I drop on their head. I'm like, but I need my left arm to support you.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'll kill you if I don't want to. So I was like, no, I just switch it. I go, you give me this and you win. And like, I don't care.
And you're communicating
Yes.
all of this
Yes.
very effectively
Yes.
without anyone else being brought into that conversation.
It's why you're just giving each other moves or somebody's punching you. Where you're just communicating while you're on the cell and stuff.
Wow. So that means is your opponent, that's also, he has to be available to receive this information from you.
And that's also like when people say the referees are pointless, the referees help that too. Like, if a referee's checking on me, I can say something to the referee and then he can go check on that guy and then he's communicating for me as well too.
Oh, wow. That's so clever. Okay.
Yeah, so we do that. I tear my bicep and then now I have one more day left with Impact Wrestling. I have all these negotiations going on with all these other companies.
And you just lost this match.
That's not that big of a deal because no one cares about that match because it was such a small show. But I have a torn bicep. No one's going to sign me if I'm already out on injury. Like, you're not going to go buy a car if you can't drive it for 6 months, right? What's the point of that? So now I'm losing it. I'm like, oh, crap. Like, I was on top of the world. I had like all basically the power to communicate. Like, I was on offense, you know what I mean? Which is a very hard position to be in when you're working with companies. And now I'm like, oh, crap. Now I'm not going to be, no one's going to sign me. Now I'm going to be injury. Like, I'm just losing it. So I show up at the pay-per-view the next day. I still worked the match, too, the next day with the torn bicep. I just taped it all up, and I did what I could. We definitely shortened it out, and they had me not technically lose the match, almost get taken out like via injury in the match. So I didn't go like super long, but I still did as much as I could. I don't know if you see it, but there's this...
Yes, I do.
The scar.
I do, but I only see it because I read about it. So
that scar even happened because of this.
Okay,
this guy,
please explain this because people are going, "What are you talking about now?"
Yeah, so it looks like I have a cleft lip now, like Walking Phoenix.
But you're still pretty, dog. You're still pretty. Hold on.
I mean, Walking Phoenix has got the movie star good looks too, but so this guy gives me this move where he kicks, like you're holding a chair and he kicks it back in your face, and because of the bicep, because I had like no strength in it. And he's like working my arm too. As he kicks the chair, I can't hold it. So it kicks out of my hand. So like the leg of the chair splits my lip completely in half. And I'm just thinking like, damn, man, this is my last day. My bicep's torn. My lip's torn in half. I'm bleeding all over the place. I got to go get stitches in my lip now. Got to go have surgery on my bicep. Like, this is not how I saw this ending. Yeah. So again, I'm thinking too, and then on top of that, I'm not going to get signed. Yeah. Luckily enough though, Impact still wanted me and offered me a deal, and I wanted to go to AEW, and I was trying to hope on the 0.01% that maybe I didn't need surgery for some reason. I get the MRI, of course I need surgery, and Tony Khan, the guy that owns AEW, was like, "Don't worry about it, don't stress it. We want you. We have faith in you. We want you on the board. We'll still sign you. We'll still pay you. Just go get your surgery, and then tell me when you're ready, and we'll bring you in." So, I couldn't believe it. So if there wasn't already, if there's any doubt that I was signed with the wrong company, like that was completely eradicated right there. Like, because that's definitely not common ground in our business, or probably in any business, really.
Yeah, they could have told you, what, see us when you get back, and
that's
after you rehab and everything.
That's usually how it is. It's like, oh, you know what, the door's not closed, and then even because now you've been out for however long. Now to your contract negotiation, so say if you're going to get X number, now that number might go down a little bit, and you don't really have that much offense. Like, well, no, I need this much. They're like, hey, you want a job or not? So there's a lot of things going in my head where I'm like, I was on top of the world. I'm like, no, I can't believe it. So to go back to your comment about, is there the risk working these little shows? Absolutely there is, and I almost lost it big time on that one. But so now whenever and I had a gut feeling about the movie we were going to do there too, which it wasn't anything big, like I said, it was nothing special, but for some reason, I just second thought it, and I was like, no, quit being a Wes Bryan, just go and do it. Like, why are you complaining about it? So now I'm gonna listen to my gut. When my gut says, maybe you shouldn't do that, I'm just like, yeah, it's not worth it. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
Wow. So you could have went into a depression.
Oh, absolutely. You know, funny enough too, if I hurt my back or something, or, in the gym or just in a match and I can't train for a week or miss a week of wrestling, I usually am pretty depressed and bummed about it. I'm like, oh man. So now I'm going to be in surgery and out forever. And I actually was the most positive and optimistic I've ever been through any injury. And I had all these plans like, you know what, I'll just do this. I'll do that while I'm out. I'll do this and that. And then the pandemic happened. So,
which you couldn't have.
Yeah. So then we just did nothing. And the positive part of that was I was even thinking about foregoing the surgery on my bicep, because some people do. You lose a decent amount of strength in your curling and supination. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I didn't want to lose the opportunity, and I was excited to be there. And that's when Tony's like, no, don't worry, you get the surgery. We'll hire you. We'll. I was basically like, look, if I have to, skip the surgery to get the job, then maybe I'll just do that then. But he's like, no, don't worry about it. We got you. And I was so glad that they did that, because if I would have skipped the surgery and tried to rush just to go start work, just for the pandemic to hit a couple weeks later or whatnot, then that would have been such a waste. Like, I was like, well, how'd I do that? Like, because too, there's also only I think it's 19 days for a bicep tear to get it fixed, or then it'll scar down and you can't get it fixed.
So
without complications,
becomes irreparable.
Yeah. Yes. So you have a pretty short life shelf there to do surgery or not.
So what you're saying is that this was a great offer from the company that you wanted to sign with, because ultimately they helped you get the intuitive nudge that you needed to get the surgery in time that you needed to get it done, so it could assure you the most effective recovery.
100%. Because had it not been that case, I can't guarantee that. We were talking about, yesterday we were talking in the parking lot, the love of doing stuff or trying to be able to step away or whatnot. And the same thing, to be able to voluntarily, get the surgery, where if there's a chance, maybe I could just not get it. It'd be really hard to be like, yeah, I'll step away then. So it definitely helped, gave me the nudge to be like, all right, you know what? It'll be okay. I'm okay. They're going to take care of me. And then it just shows that they appreciate the talent. You know what I mean? That's another thing too. A lot of companies, they don't really appreciate a lot of the workers there as they should. And they feel like a lot of them are very interchangeable or replaceable. So to be able to have that respect and appreciation from the company that I haven't even started working for yet was phenomenal. But
that's awesome too, because you have already shown 15-year investment, the due diligence that you've showed. You've invested in developing your skills as far as being in the ring, your footwork, all those things, the things that you paid attention to that you thought would ultimately help you become this proficient, machine.
There it is.
Performer in the ring, and now you had an experience where the company that you wanted to sign with turns around and says, "Hey, yeah, we're gonna honor that, we're gonna respect that, and we're gonna give you a deal that will give you some comfort and support even when you're going through your rehab."
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. So good. There was I've had several injuries from wrestling. That's just part of the deal too. But going back to you said want to be a bodybuilder. So I was very fascinated with bodybuilding once I started training back right after high school. And I thought about doing a show for fun. And then I always tippy-toed around it. I was like, I don't know. What if I have a booking or, no real commitment. Obviously, you got to go all in or not. And I got hurt. I separated my shoulder. And then I just fell into a real bad depression, not because of just the shoulder, just life in general. My relationship at the time, finances. I just got released from WWE. Just a lot of things were going bad. So I was just down and out. I couldn't train. I didn't have money to really eat or get any supplement stuff. And I just really got deflated and the worst shape I'd been in. And then once that all started to turn around for me, it really, that's I guess the only positive I've ever hitting rock bottom or from a bad injury or whatever, is it enables you to kind of get that passion and fire ignited to a higher, flame than before. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get the best shape possible, and I'm finally going to do a show. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it now. And I did it, and I loved it, fell in love with it.
What was the name of the show?
For the first one I did was the Fresno Classic, and this was in 2012, and I won the novice, and I got second in the overall. I know there's not second place trophy in the overall, but just in the scoring card, which I was stoked.
That's right.
And I mainly only say this too because the guy who got third ended up becoming a pro. Like I think that year too. I'm like, oh, I beat him. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the second year, 2013, I did it again, and that's a pretty good segue to us. And you were actually the guest poser at that show and the trophy presenter. And I didn't know you presented the trophy. I knew you were the show, and I thought it was awesome. And then when you came out to present the trophy, when I won that overall, it was phenomenal. And then we have a picture together doing that, and Flex Wheeler's in it too. And I brought it to that year at Olympia.
Legend.
And I had you sign it, and I got a shirt from you. I actually had 2 different photos, and you signed them both, and they're both on Instagram. And I was a huge fan of yours, and I was telling you this too. Then right afterwards, we went over to I went over to my friend. He was in line to see Phil Heath, and I was talking to him. And then when he went up to see him, he's talking to him, and he gets a photo with him, and they look at me like, "Oh, hey, you want to jump in this picture?" So I'm sporting the Kai Greene shirt, and I'm like, "Oh, sure." Then I'm like, "Oh, wait, no, man, you're the enemy," and I'm like. I kind of like big leagued him, like, no, you're not that cool. Like, so, and that almost kind of enhanced the rivalry for you guys too. And I told you this before too. I felt like, you can go back and forth on, if you should have won or not, whether people, are objective to that. But regardless,
I don't go back and forth.
I'm trying to say neutral party. I'm trying to say neutral party that to put you over in the fact that I feel the other 364 days out of the year you always had a beat. So like I talked about how great shape you stay in year round. I was like, man, you haven't beat like every day of the year. And then for whatever reason, he keeps on slipping one over there on the Olympia. But yeah, no, it was a fun time. So then I fell in love with bodybuilding. And I did several shows, and I wanted to get my pro card, not to compete as a pro, but just to accomplish something. And I was prepping for nationals in Miami in 2015, and Lucha Underground, this company I was signed with at the time, they started their second season 2 weeks early. They shot it like a TV show as opposed to like a year-round sporting event.
Oh, okay.
And really cool show. It's probably my favorite thing I've done in wrestling. But so they started 2 weeks earlier than what they were set to do, which happened to fall on the same weekend as the nationals. And I was like, no. And I'm like 6 weeks out, and I'm like, I've been doing this, and I'm looking great. I'm like, I want to do this competition, and they're going back and forth with me. Like, we really need to do that weekend, and we got paid pretty good there on that too. Like, you didn't have a salary where it was like a guaranteed rate. It was like a TV contract where you got paid per episode that you're on. So I was going to do a few episodes, so I'd make a pretty good payday that weekend. But then, unbeknownst to them, I'm only going to spend a lot more money to do the national show. Right. And if I win, right, we talk about too. If I win, I get to pay for my pro card. Yeah. So they offered me a big bonus not to do the show, and I was like, "Whoa, what? Hold on." I'm like, "So I'm going to get paid not?" I'm like, "That sucks. I'm prepping to spend this time, but all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it." So I do it, and then there's another show somewhere in December in San Diego that I was going to try to do to requalify because I'm already like in the prep zone and looking good. Uh-huh. And another company I was co-signed with Lucha Underground was their Lucha Libre partner in Mexico, AAA, and their big event in December happened to switch to that date. So I felt like I had to cancel it again, and I was like, all right, I'm already prepping. I want to stay on board. So there's this LA event, first brand new show on the NPC calendar, and it fell on the same date as a Lucha Underground TV taping. But for where prejudging was and the night show in between, and Lucha Underground usually filmed like between 3 and 7, I was like, dude, I could do all of it in the same day, which is insane. What? So, and I even got somebody to come document it and film it, and I was ready. I was all stoked about it. And I even thought like I was still looking really good, and it's a brand new show, so it's like, oh, the chances of there being a lot of competitors or even quality competitors probably is lower, so I think I should be able to pull this one out pretty easily then. But there wasn't enough competitors that signed up, so they canceled the show. And then at that point, I said, forget this. I'm so over prepping. I'm done. And I've never done it again.
Wow.
So that was the. But I mean, I still love it. I still live the lifestyle. And for anyone, people know like all the traveling and like the hardships of wrestling. But like obviously, all the dedication and time and commitment it takes for bodybuilding. But every show I did too, I still wrestled every single weekend, all the way up to the week of the show.
What?
And the very next day after every show, I got up, I did an hour cardio, I did legs, and then I would drive or fly to my event and wrestle the next night on Sunday.
Wow.
Every single time. Every single time.
Wow. There is no way. That is like, That is talking about a whole another level of commitment.
Let me tell you what, making all my, I'd make as many meals as I could in my 6-pack bag, and then I'd freeze a bunch and I'd check them, and I'd just keep them in the freezer at the hotel freezer because you don't have the meals locked down.
Well, you're known for showing up to a show.
Always
bag full of meals.
Every time, all my supplements, all my meals.
7 meals, 6 meals a day, just following through, exposing other people, that are living outside of the bodybuilding, fitness influence experience, to a very methodical way of living a lifestyle, which is technically what you excel at,
I never felt like I was, whether it comes for any, I never thought it was, the biggest, the smartest, the strongest, the this, the what, the best. But I felt like my determination to make sure whatever I have, in my mind to happen, I feel like is just as strong, if not stronger than anybody's. I feel like that was my number one asset to me, to make something happen. Just the belief in that, like, all right, I'm gonna be so determined, may not happen when I want it to, but I know it's going to happen. And so I feel like that was my strong point to get to where I am now.
So when you say this, there's going to be, I would imagine a ton of people that will still be discovering this information, this material, even 2 years from now. They will hear your voice. They will be familiar with some of the things that you've been able to accomplish with the body of work that you will stand to your credit, that you will have standing to your credit then. And there'll be fans that will in some way want to take a piece of the increase that your success represents and make something of it for themselves. What is the takeaway that you would like to say right now?
I've had people, message me or come up to me at shows and tell me I've motivated for them to, to try this or to get into wrestling or to, better their life in any sort of fit and health aspect. And no matter how minor or big their change or whatever they're going after is, it's so incredible because it's like to think that you have that kind of influence or effect on somebody when I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm just a wrestler. Mm-hmm. That's what, like, I feel regardless of whatever, minor celebrity status I may have, I feel like I'm still the wrestler that just started out in California running my own show. Like, I don't feel like, I'm this big head, whatever guy now. So the fact that I feel like I can have some sort of influence to encourage somebody to chase their dream, to improve their health, to go after whatever they're going after, is just mind-boggling to me, and it's so awesome, and it's such a fantastic compliment, and I appreciate it so much because just as much as they're, telling me how much I mean to them to go after whatever they're going after, it means that much more to me. Like it really just encourages me and keeps like, hey man, well, I'm doing something here which I would never thought I was even capable of doing, and it's awesome. And like I'm not even trying to go through all my struggles, that I went through because I don't need like a big, Cry Me River story. Because I feel like everyone has a struggle. Everyone's like, if it's not worth sacrificing for, then I mean, there's no reason anybody else, everyone would do it then, right? But there's going to be sacrifices. There's going to be struggle no matter what field you're in, whether it's entertainment, whether it's sports, whether you're trying to be a lawyer, doctor, there's going to be time-consuming struggles, sacrifices, commitment, hard work. And I feel like everyone has a story. Everyone has a story, and they're all awesome. And I'm not saying mine's any, worse, better, more difficult, or more influenced than anybody else's. But if you can find any sort of influence or motivation from any of my story or any of my sacrifices or stuff I've gone through that encourages you to go through yourself, I mean, that's phenomenal. And that's the biggest takeaway just for me, for my career. I think that's the stuff at the end of the day that's going to matter more than world championships or money or whatever the case may be.
I like that. What is the next biggest step for you? Or technically, I don't want to say the next biggest, but what is the largest step that you would make with your career and the development of the personality that you would be becoming known for? That'll be the legacy.
Well, I mean, I don't. I know you thought I was saying I was going to quit wrestling next year. That's not the case. But I'm a very goal-oriented person, and I have a lot of stuff I see going down in the future that I want to do, and and even outside of wrestling. But you can't get too far ahead of yourself. And right now, I really want to just start having more matches of the night, if you will, on AEW, because I feel like I haven't gotten those opportunities to really prove to the people who don't know who I am. Like some people, there's a lot of different wrestling fans, and a lot of people know me from Lucha Underground or from Impact or from this company called PWG and such, and they know what I'm capable of and what I can do. But I'm not naive to the fact that not everybody knows that, because I'm on the largest reach audience that I have now on TNT. So not everybody knows exactly what I can do. So I just want to prove myself to that, and then going forward, I got to be world champion, man. I mean, if you're not in this to be the best, if you're not in anything to be the best, right? No one trains for second place, right? No offense. No offense.
Ain't no offense here. Man. Security. No, I'm just kidding.
But like, yeah, if you don't want to be the world champion, if you don't want, that signifies you the best. That doesn't even mean that you are the best, though, right? But perception is reality, right?
Absolutely.
You can't always control who's the champion. I'm giving you the week.
You can decide to be the champion. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter what the world, or what others outside will identify with you. But you are the person that has to say. So I totally hear what you're saying. Yeah. I'm definitely not sitting here calling security on you yet. No, just kidding.
But that's what I'm going to prove myself to the masses that may not know, and have more matches tonight like that, and be able to just be the Brian Cage that I know I can be, and then to be world champion, just because that's still, even though, again, going back to it's predetermined, that's still real. Like when you win the world title, regardless if it's written on a paper that someone else is choosing to make you the champion, there's still a moment in that's just real. And then it signifies your legacy right there, as far as, hey, you were a world champion for a major promotion, that you're a key player, you're a main player and the top guy. And then from that, I have plenty of aspirations within wrestling and from the side, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. That's just keep it tunnel vision on that right there, and hopefully we can make that happen before the year's over. And then 2022, we got new things going down.
And you also have a son, daughter.
Yes, I do.
Family that loves you. I've never had children. I've yet.
Actually, I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not been able to grow into that part of my my personal development yet. But with that on the horizon for you, and knowing that is certainly something that will continue to grow and still continue to be an ever meaningful situation in your life. How does this thing look 10 years from now when your son is in his 20s and talking about his father and the legacy that he can fondly share with an audience as he is talking and sharing his influence, hopefully to encourage and inspire others?
Hey, that's a good question right there. I more than being Brian Cage for my son and even for my daughter, but obviously my son's older. For people listening, my daughter's 3, my son's 15, about to be 15. There's definitely, I think, and again, not to sit here and tell a sob story or whatever. And like I said, everyone's got their struggles, but I definitely want to have more influence and effect as his dad, as Brian Button, than as Brian Cage, the pro wrestler, the superstar. I absolutely do, and I've had these conversations with him a couple of times too. I do want him to see the sacrifices and the struggles and the stuff that I've chose to do. Albeit, yes, for some selfish gain, but ultimately too to show him, like, look, man, everyone in the world thought I had 0 chances in the world to make it, to do this, to do that, and I absolutely did it. And one of the big motivations to do that was for you, was to be able to provide for you and give you a better life than me, but also more importantly to show you that you can do it, whatever you want to accomplish, that you can be able to do that. And hopefully he can take that inspiration and exactly do whatever he's going to go after for, and then can use that to tell his story.
Awesome. Oh man, this has been truly an honor. I don't even know what I would be able to do at this time to say thank you for coming in and sharing your story with us. I know that there are people that will still be discovering this not only 2 years from now, but the funny thing about when we do this and we commit some of our thoughts and our ideas to record, they kind of sit in cyber. They sit in this world of data and information, and truth be told, they will be discovered as words of encouragement, words of building and hopefully inspiration for many years to come.
I agree too. I think too, because a lot of people feel like, that it was just easier for this person, or like, oh, so-and-so would just got handed this, or just, there's just some sort of scapegoat in their mind that they want to believe that it was just, you were just supposed to be there. So that's why you were there, as opposed to like that you had to do anything to get yourself there. And I feel like one thing too, I tell everyone to stay away from people who want to crap on your dream. And even when I see somebody, and they get somebody coming for wrestling, for instance, and they have so much heart and so much passion and love and desire for it, but they just don't have an athletic bone in their body, and they're just not in the best shape. And it's like, I really don't want to tell them not to waste their time, because I'm not a dream killer. But like, sometimes you're just like, whew, that's a really hard uphill battle, man. It's a really hard uphill battle. But
what do you tell them then?
I try to still give them motivation. I'm not telling you to quit and stuff. I just try to push them towards the right direction to improve, their severe lack in physique and athleticism and this and that. And I was like, look, I know you love wrestling. You're super passionate. You want to make this happen, and you're a huge fan. And I think that's it too. A lot of people know this like inside stuff within wrestling now, since more and more of it's been like kind of put out there. I was like, but just because you know it all or think that you know it all, that doesn't mean you can just do it. And it's at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, if you want to be a weekend warrior kind of deal and have some fun with it, absolutely. Do what you want to do. It can still be fun. Again, I'm not trying to crap on the dreams. I say, hey, maybe you could do a manager thing, a referee thing, whatever. Like, don't stop, because I guess you never know. But I try to tell them, like, hey, look, if they're in a position where, maybe they're older than younger, and they have kids, and they got responsibilities, like maybe you don't prioritize this. Don't stop completely, but like, don't be like, oh, I can't have this job anymore because I need to commit to this. Like, maybe not the best, be smart about it. Obviously, if you're a kid and you got no responsibilities, then hey, do what you got to do and can while you can. But if the odds are really against you, I mean, they're going to be against you no matter what. But if they're really against you, just in the fact that like, it's just not everybody can do everything, So
Wow.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
So question, do you think then, is it your responsibility then to say anything?
So so when I just do these, so in this situations, I'm usually doing a seminar or something. So it's not 100%, but I'm not gonna blow smoke up their ass. That's for sure. I'm not gonna tell them absolutely quit. You're awful. You never make it. But I'm not gonna give them a Fantasyland story either, though. Now, the person's school that I'm at, that I'm doing the seminar, if they have this kid and this kid's been coming here for however many years, and he's been there in the same spot the whole time, I kind of feel it's their responsibility, just they're being paid by him, because now they're almost just using him to get a whatever weekly, monthly fee or whatever, to just kind of take money from him. Look, man, if this, you and I both know this kid's not going to make it. Like, maybe you need to have this conversation with him somehow. He can still be a part of it, but like, not to sit here and just take his money and giving him false sense of promises that probably aren't going to come true. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not saying that's quick, because I guess anything can happen, but like, just be a little more real. And again, especially if he's in a spot where has responsibilities, you know what I mean? Like, don't throw those away for something that's probably not going to happen.
Man, I don't know if we agree on that. And it's something and I feel it's almost probably an entertainment vehicle in the fact that we don't agree, because like, there's a part of me that believes that when I don't have a crystal ball,
sure,
and neither does that person. And if it is that you really want something, and a lot of times what happens is the experiences in our life is not the problem. In fact, I think it's a lot of times the expression of what becomes the mirror or the vehicle that can reveal the person to themselves. So like you described the situation where this guy he's at the bottom of the class, and he's been sitting at the same position in this class for the last 5 years, for the last 7 years, and if it is each time at the completion of that class, he's being met with directions that tell him, hey man, you have to work harder. Hey man, these are the criteria that you need to meet, to demonstrate the learned skill sets that you will need to graduate beyond this level that you're at. And if he's devoted himself for that year, and he now finds himself again at the bottom of the class and he's asking why, and we're able to go back to that criteria list and say, hey, do you see where you didn't meet these criteria? And he's able to see that. Then I think ultimately it will be his experience along with his commitment to the responsibilities that are important to him that, if in time, will slowly reveal to himself if he is really serious about asking those questions and really looking for the answers that he needs in an effort to either improve or to discover where else in his life he may need to apply his effort to truly be the effective participant in his life that he may need, that he wants to be. I think that becomes his work to do, and that becomes the reason why those life experiences exist on the horizon for him or her, whomever that person is. But when I turn around and I think that I'm going to do them a favor and I'm going to pull out my crystal ball and I'm going to now use my power and possibly my influence to kill a dream that is not mine to kill, to do something that technically takes my power and possibly uses it for the creation of an idea that's less than what I want to do, less than who I want to be.
No, I agree with what you're saying there. I said, like, I'm definitely a dream killer. I'm not gonna tell anybody not to.
Yeah,
that's not gonna happen.
Them
and
dream killers that talk, they need to get their ass kicked.
No, I guess I'm saying too more of the. I think too is because in wrestling too, there's a lot of there's a lot of crappy promoters, a lot of what we call carnies, where like they'll take advantage of somebody. So again, because this guy, here's the thing, maybe they don't have the best school anyway, so this person could be training. But also too, I was thinking you can tell certain people something, and certain people just don't want to hear it. You know, they'll ask you, you tell them, but that's not the answer they want to hear,
right?
And they're not going to want to better themselves,
right?
But regardless, go back to the carny promoters. I'm thinking they don't really care if this person's gonna make it, not gonna make it, good, not good. As long as he's paying the first of the month, every month, I want him to keep coming. Yep. So that's where I get a little mad, where it's like they don't care about any of it. They just want the money. That's what the carny promoter. And so that's where I get more of a upset and have an issue with it. We're like, look, man, you need to tell this person. Like, and then especially because I have a friend actually too that was like probably had the biggest heart than anyone, but he was just such a tiny guy and just not like, he wasn't that great. He just wasn't very athletic. And like same thing, I never wanted him to quit. But then, you know, he had a couple kids and all this and that. And then he started just posting all these messages about, you know, just struggles and hardships and finances and this and that. And I'm like, yo, Mikey, man, I'm not saying you have to stop, but like you have these job opportunities you're literally talking about that you turn down because you don't want to interfere with you being able to do a show that you're going to make $20 at. Right. Like, that's not smart, man. Like, I'm not saying you have to quit. I don't want you to quit. Like, again, there's a chance of making it slim. Yeah, extremely slim. But like, again, I'm not going to dream kill it. But at the same time, like you've done this for a long time. You've put in a big effort. So even if you fail, you haven't failed. You know why? Because you tried. I feel like that's another thing too. The only way to actually fail at something is to never try.
Never try.
If you go in there and you do all you can, and you know you actually committed the best you could, it wasn't in the books for you. That sucks. But at least you know, as opposed to like and that's what was going back to the dream killers. People that want to crap on your dream before you even try them. Which I even had a manager at this job I had in United Reynolds in California. A really good job I had too. And he, I got this opportunity to go to what was called Deep South Wrestling, which was a farm league at the time for WWE. And nobody could go there unless they're contracted. But I got an opportunity to be invited there, which would obviously a big leap in front of a lot of people to be able to get a contract. So I didn't want to turn this opportunity down again because of the what if, you know, like I'd hate it if I didn't go anywhere the whole time the rest of my life. I'm like, what if? So I took it, and it was hard. That was part of the sacrifices too of like accruing so much debt, living off credit cards, and sending all my money back to my son and my son's mom, and being out of his life when he was like 6 months old for several months, and like again a lot of hardships with that, but it was a sacrifice for the greater cause. Meanwhile, my manager at the time, my boss at the job I had, literally told me not to do it, that it wouldn't happen for me, that I'd be wasting my time, that I had better chances of winning the lottery, or better yet, his son has a better chance of being in the NFL than I ever did at making it.
And what was his son?
Huh?
What was his son? His son was like...
nothing special, but... And you know what, too, and even as as much as this comes off as a dick, he actually wasn't being one when he said it. He was just trying to be straight with me because he was actually a mutual friend's father as well. So I get that he was trying to come from the right place, but at the same time, I felt like he was trying to kill my dream because this is the only job he's had his entire life, and he just worked up the food chain. And he had a dream, he had a desire to go somewhere, do something, or whatever it was, and he never pursued it. And you know what? Now he doesn't want to see someone else go after and make something happen because now he's like, wow, damn, why didn't I do that? So that's why I said I'm definitely not a dream killer.
It can't be done in his mind.
And then even then, a couple years later, I wasn't living in Northern California anymore. We moved down south, and I was up visiting family, and I was at the local gym up there. And he walked into the sports club, and I was like, "Oh, hey man, what's up?" And he's, "Oh, hey, it was good to see you, Brian." I go, "Hey, John, that's his son." I go, "Hey, is John in the NFL?" And he goes, "No, why?" I go, "Oh, it's because I got a contract with WWE. I just wanted to let you know that." So that was the best, stick it to him I could have done. So
yes, success is the best revenge. Absolutely, I love
100%.
I like that, man. Well, you know what? I definitely think that is certainly something for anybody to take. And put that in their pipe. Success is the best revenge. I thank you for sharing your story with us, your highs and lows, coming in here today as we are in the Redcon 1 studio.
Right? Yeah, it's a good time.
This has been a really, really wonderful opportunity for me. I'm just so thankful that you even took the time to even allow us.
Bro, I was so thankful and excited to come in here and talk with you, and I don't know when this comes out in correlation with the workout that we did, but I appreciate the workout too.
Oh, you mentioned that.
I was so pumped and excited for that. So again, going back to it, here, I've said put over so many times in this interview, but let me put you over some more. So already being like just when I first started getting into bodybuilding, I didn't know a lot of people, outside of, Arnold and stuff, the classic guys. But even before I could always remember your name, when I ever saw your stuff, when I first started training, I was like, dude, this guy's a freak. Look at him and the feather in his legs, and oh, he's awesome. And then became more and more a fan of yours. And then you were definitely my all-time favorite bodybuilder, especially the modern era. So then for you to come and be the guest poser and the trophy presenter at the show that I won, and then here we are doing a podcast, a workout video, all on the same team, 8 years later, whatever it is. It's awesome. It's awesome, man. So
more than awesome to me. This has truly been an honor for me, and I really expect that there's going to be some really good and promising things that will come from this exchange. I can't thank you enough for being as generous with your time as you've been.
Oh no, my pleasure, man.
Kind. You've been such a gentleman, such a wonderful steward. You are truly a tremendous ambassador of the sport. This lifestyle. Tremendous example, but also when we start to talk about the entrepreneurial mindset, the ability to work and invest in yourself and to continue to be responsible for the continued successful development of yourself, you are the example. This is, from me to you, I am just very thankful to have had this experience with you today. Thank you for sharing. And every compliment you've given, brother, because you have been such a gentleman. I expect that there are going to be wonderful rewards for you continuing to go forward with the development of everything that you touch. You're a great guy. You're very, very warm and wonderful to talk with you and listen to you. You come across as being so genuine, so respectful. You are a person that I respect just for your human being that you allow to shine through with each and every word that you offer. I cannot imagine that you will not be successful with anything you choose to do with the development of your career as an athlete, and then beyond that as an actor and a continually developing performer. You have that thing that is designed to succeed, and I thank you for sharing it with me today.
My pleasure, and I thank you much, kind. I think we're just in like a compliment off right now.
On that note, we out of here. It's your boy K with the AKA Mr. Getting It Done. This has been Getting It Done, and we have had the wonderful opportunity of having the ability to interview the Brian Cage, the machine, in the place to be. All right, on this note, we are out.